A ruminating cycle is a cycle of thought or emotion. In such a cycle, one thought leads to another, and so on until we find ourselves trapped in our heads, going over and over the same thoughts again and again. There are positive ruminating cycles and negative ruminating cycles. Such cycles consist of the self-talk we engage in as we go about our daily business. Let's look at a couple of scenarios involving ruminating cycles. These cycles are from Joe and Jim. Joe's negative ruminating cycle might look like this. My wife just frowned at me. I wonder what she's upset about. What have I done wrong this time? Can't I ever do anything right? Why is it so hard to please her? Maybe I should just divorce her and get it over with. She's never happy. I'll show her. I'll just give her the silent treatment. Jim's positive ruminating cycle might look like this. My wife just frowned. I wonder if she's upset. Maybe she's just having a bad day. I wonder if there's anything I can do to help. I'm happy that she trusts me enough to share her innermost feelings with me. As you think about these ruminating cycles, you may recognize a few things from the episode of the 3 Ps of permanent, personal, and pervasive. Joe's negative ruminating cycle assumes that his wife's frown was personal and that Joe believes his wife was frowning at him. Jim, on the other hand, simply noted that his wife had frowned without assuming that it was directed at him personally. Joe also assumed that his wife's frown was indicative of a pervasive problem, that Joe could not ever do anything to please his wife. Jim, on the other hand, recognized that this was just one incident and not a pervasive problem. His response to his wife's frown was, well, maybe she's just having a bad day. Finally, Joe's ruminating cycle assumes a permanent problem, that Joe can't ever do anything right, while Jim doesn't see it as a permanent problem. He's even willing to try to change the situation by wondering if there's anything he can do to help his wife. Try this. The next time you find yourself in a ruminating cycle, whether it's a positive or a negative cycle, begin by talking out loud. Verbalize your thought and feeling patterns by observing them and describing them. Look for any permanent, personal, or pervasive patterns of thinking and feeling. Be on the lookout for all or nothing thinking. You can usually identify such patterns of thought by looking for words like always and never. The good news about thoughts like things have always been this way and things are never going to change is that you only need one example to disprove them. If Joe has ever done a single thing in his entire life to please his wife, then he's not justified in saying, I can never do anything to please her. If Joe can find just one example of where things have gone well, then he can't say, I always do the wrong thing. He might do the wrong thing 9,999,000 times, but if there's just one case in which he did the right thing, then he is not justified in saying, I always do the wrong thing. If Joe can think of a single time when he was able to do the right thing, then that means that it's possible to do the right thing. And if it's possible to do the right thing once, it's possible to do the right thing again. All that remains is finding out what made it possible and repeating the conditions that made it possible. The key point to remember about ruminating cycles is that they are self-reinforcing. Emotions like to hang around once they've shown up. Research has shown that once a ruminating cycle of emotional aggression gets started, we tend to act, think, and feel in ways that perpetuate the cycle. We're conditioned to believe that when we have strong emotions, we must immediately act upon them. But mindfulness teaches us that we do not have to act on these emotions, and we don't have to dwell on them. We can simply observe and describe these emotions without feeling the need to react or respond. It may help to remember that there is no such thing as a good or a bad feeling. What may be considered good or bad is the behavior that comes after the feeling. So the problem lies in the behavior, not in the feeling itself. One of the behaviors that can be considered positive or negative is the ruminating cycle itself. A negative ruminating cycle works this way. Suppose you have a negative feeling, like anger, hostility, sadness, jealousy, or things like that. When you have that, you activate a ruminating cycle by continuing to dwell on the feeling. As you continue to dwell on the feeling, the negative emotion feeds off of the ruminating cycle, and the emotion causes you to become more and more emotionally aroused, until you act out with emotional aggression. If you choose to, you can change this behavior in this way. When you note a negative emotion, simply observe it and describe it, while recognizing that you do not have to dwell on it. The feeling itself is not good or bad, it simply is. You can decide not to give it power over you by disengaging from the ruminating cycle. In doing so, you don't have to feed the negative emotion, and it eventually subsides. This can be illustrated in a story called The Tale of Two Wolves. An old grandfather said to his grandson, when he came to him with anger at a friend who had done him an injustice, "Let me tell you a story, grandson. I also at times have felt a great hate for those who have taken so much with no sorrow for what they do. But hate wears you down and doesn't hurt your enemy at all. It's like taking poison and wishing your enemy would die because of it. I've struggled with these feelings many times. It's as if there are two wolves inside of me. One is a good wolf and does no harm. He lives in harmony with all around him and does not take offense when no offense was intended. He will only fight when it's right to do so, and in the right way. But the other wolf, he's full of anger. The littlest thing will set him off into a fit of temper. He fights everyone all the time for no good reason. He cannot think because his anger and hate are so great. It's helpless anger too, for his anger will change nothing. Sometimes it's hard to live with these two wolves inside of me, because both of them try to dominate my spirit." The grandson thought about this for a while, then looked into his grandfather's eyes and asked, "Which one wins, grandfather?" The grandfather smiled and quietly said, "The one I feed." So which wolf are you feeding?